I think your salary is not enough. Anyone who depends on a salary alone is of course doomed. Ask yourself, if my job ended today, what would I be able to do? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to have like a fun conversation on money. I think it's something that I've been putting off for a while now, and I feel it's time. So I will just have a series on money every Friday, so every Monday, so I call it Money Mondays. For today, I wanted to start this off by shooting a video on survival skills, survival tips. So the economy is bad. I think it's not only in Kenya, I think it's everywhere, and there is need for us to be able to normalize money conversation so that we move as a team, because I think it's tough for everyone, and to some people it's bad, and so first my heart goes out to everyone who is struggling. I know everything is really tough, and there are people who are really struggling, so my heart goes out to them. But I have some tips on what has helped me. I have been very intentional about money and how I spend my money. I have things that I'm very categorical about overspending on, like where I live, it matters to me, and such like things. But on the most part, I have tried as much as possible to be able to save up and to be able to be very money conscious. I've taken a couple of courses, Centonomy and other courses, and so I just want to be able to pass on some of my learnings from everything that I have had, and that doesn't mean that I'm better than you or I know more than you, so that's a disclaimer. So let's get right into it. The first survival tips is, I don't think you can afford to have one stream of income. I think you must diversify your streams, and you have to have multiple streams of income. And at times it's just basic things like, what are you really gifted in? Like, can you bake really well? Can you teach really well? And how can you monetize those skills so that you're able to get extra coins out of the skills that you already have? The second thing that I'm also really passionate about is saving. So for me saving, and this is my tip, for me saving is in three forms. The first form of saving is I save for investment, so I save to be able to invest that money later. The second form is I save to be able to get 3 months worth of my living expenses in somewhere I can access easily. So the one for investments, I tend to lock it up, and so that one is non-negotiable. I receive it, I take it in, and it's locked up, and so I cannot access that one. My living expenditure for 3 months, that one I can access, and so I tend to calculate my monthly expenses. So if, let's say, if it's 100,000, then my savings has 300,000 shillings that I can easily access. And then the third savings are everything that remains after I have subtracted my expenses from my income. I also put that away, and that is for anything that would come up that I did not foresee. It's not for the things that I have foreseen, it's for the things that I have not foreseen, and that doesn't include any expense that I would be able to incur in a month. So those ones I put aside. I have a budget that a lot of times I stick to, and so if it's 100,000, once the 100,000 is depleted, that's it. So there is savings, there is investments, there is money for spending, and I think one of the things that you need to really appreciate is the fact that you worked, you have to pay yourself. And so there are things that I have, like for example, a budget for my nails, for my hair, and for just self-care, going out, eating out, all that. So I have a budget. I have a budget for giving as well. So I have this particular budget, and we'll talk about giving and how it relates to your income, because I think a lot of times people look at giving as removing from your income, but I tend to look at it from the point of adding onto your income, and we'll get to have the conversation about giving and what it does to you and your psyche and your money. And so I will not get into that, but I have a budget for giving. I have a budget for anything. And I think that's a good thing, because now then you get to a point where your money does not lead, you lead the way. So you tell your money where to go, as opposed to your money telling you where to go. And so I put that aside and I stick to the budget, and then I commit to putting aside a percentage of my income, which I already said earlier. So I don't spend everything. I think a lot of times people wait for like that big paycheck to be able to save, but a lot of times whatever you have, you can save. If it's 10 bob, you can save 3 bob. If it's 100 bob, you can save 30 bob. Mine is always 30%. I don't think that we can be able to say that it's 30% blanket for everyone. You do what works for you, but then put that money aside. Have a proper spending plan. You see, like how you get your pay slip where at the end of the month, have a spending plan. Begin to be able to put in everything there and get to know how much you are spending. The third thing is tracking down your expenses, tracking to the very shilling. I think that's something that has really helped me since I did Centonomy, is that I get to keep all my receipts and key them into an Excel. So I have this Excel, and by this, if there's any resource that you need from this video that you would want me to send it to you, just email lifewithnudi@gmail.com and I'll be able to share that with you. So I have an Excel sheet where I key in every amount that I spend on a daily basis, and so I track every one of my up to the shilling, and that really helps at the end of the month to know what my expenses really are, because at times I think we spend without even knowing how much you're spending, and that's dangerous, because you cannot be able to even budget, you cannot be able to project, you cannot have, like for me, I have a strategic plan. I know what I'm going to do in a year, I know what I'm going to do in 5 years, and so you cannot have that if you don't know your expenditure. Also, you cannot know how much money you need to make to be able to fit into your expenditure. So how I work, so many people do this, they look at their money and then the budget within their money. So me, how I work is that I have an expenditure list, and then I work hard to be able to service that expenditure. So if I know that I have, like this year I'm going back to school and I'm doing a couple of real estate projects, I know that I have to work this hard to be able to earn that life that I want. And so, like for example, last year I worked really hard because I had so many goals that I needed to have reached, and so I was taking up consultancies, I was taking up more jobs, and so piling them up so that I'm able to live up to the expenditure that I have. So the way I do it is I have like my monthly income, I have essential expenses, non-essential expenses, and then what remains. So every single time that I feel that my monthly income, what remains is beginning to go lower, like the difference between my income and my expenses, then I dig in first with the non-essential expenses. So things like eating out, things like lunch. I find lunch to be one of those very, like, I don't know, it's so unnecessary, but then it's also like one of the things that we really spend a lot of money on. And we'll talk about, even if you just, I think in Centonomy we learn something about just putting 300 of your lunch money aside, and what that money can be if you put it into a pension scheme or something, and like what you can be able to do with that money. But that's conversation for another day. So I get to put, I have a goal of ensuring that difference between my income and my expenses is a certain amount. Whenever it goes down, then I know that I have to work harder or reduce on my non-essential expenses. so that I don't get lower than what my financial goal is. The fourth thing that I also alluded to earlier is pay yourself first. I think a lot of times as people who work, we tend to pay everyone else. Your niece wants school fees, you send. Your brother wants money for wherever, you send. And at the end of the day, you don't prioritize yourself and the fact that you work so hard for this money that it needs to work for you. And so I recommend that you pay yourself first. Don't just work for everyone else and then leave yourself hanging, because you're also important. And for you to be able to develop a good relationship with everything that you do, you have to get to a level that you feel that your money truly works for you. And so if there's any parting shot that I would have is save as much as you can. Reduce on the essential expenditure as much as you can. Do not look at people doing things and then you hope onto them. You don't know what they're earning. You don't know how hard they save for it. Like for example, if I do something, there is a lot of saving that has already gone into it. So you can't just jump up and want to live someone else's life. One of the tips that I normally tell people a lot is look at your motive for why you're spending. Like, why are you staying where you're staying? Why are you driving the car that you're driving? Why are you carrying Gucci and Versace and all these other things? Like, why? What is the intention behind it? And if it's about pleasing people and making people see, like, and that's why for example, we go on holidays and the entire time you're taking pictures because it's the validation. So go for what that means and let it be centered around you and not around other people, because every time you people please and you want to do things because other people are doing, then you are on the way to a wrong financial decision. So I hope this helps. I hope you find something about this video useful in your day-to-day life, and I hope we pull through together. Hop on to your things, the things that you do for free, and that you love to do and that can make you money. I think your salary is not enough. Anyone who depends on a salary alone is of course doomed. Ask yourself, if my job ended today, what would I be able to do? And that's the reason why you need 3 months worth of living expenses just lying there. In 3 months, it's ideally, some people recommend 6 months, but then in 3 months you should have been able to figure something out. And so I just want us to be able to evaluate our relationship with money and be able to have a non-abusive relationship when it comes to money, and also know that you are the master of that ship, not money. So I hope the times get better and I hope the economy gets better. I don't think it really will anytime soon. So you just have to pull up our socks and be able to get our hands dirty. Whatever you choose to do, whatever your hands choose to do, I pray that it prospers and that it gets to finance the life that you want for yourself. Until next time, bye.